Hello and welcome to the New Dawn podcast. How are you today?
I'm amazing. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Me too. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I think we need more people who are leading the way, especially in the role of self-confidence. And I know we've just dived straight into this, but what drew me to you initially was the fact that you do a confidence club. And I love what you talk about. I love how you're helping people to promote and grow and recognize their worth and confidence and stop being the wallflower, giving them permission to be fully themselves. And I think that is worth, like if we were just to go, yay, well done, that was epic. That for me is so important.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's very important as well, because if we don't have confidence in ourselves and value ourselves, how are anybody else going to see the beauty in you and your life and what you do? Because we all have confidence. It's just whether we let it out or not.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yeah,
we all have confidence. What makes you think we all have confidence, and what stops us from having it?
Because we all do certain things on a daily basis. Like you get up, you have a shower, you put your clothes on, you might do your makeup, do your hair, and you drive a car, you have a job. Like you're functioning adults, you need confidence to go and put the tap on so you don't scold yourself. You need confidence in that you tied your shoelaces up properly so you don't fall over. Or women in heels, like we walk differently when we wear heels. And the little things that we do on a day-to-day basis, we don't think of as, oh, I need confidence to do that, but because it's ingrained into you, these daily habits, these things that we do without thinking.
So you think that they're the same mechanism? Yeah. The drive that makes you put on your shoes and make sure that they're tied properly is exactly the same that creates the self-confidence?
Yeah, because it's a learned behavior.
Oh, and that's all self-confidence is a learned behavior.
Yeah, and it's something we all have the ability of, and we all have because we do certain tasks anyway. So why can't we transfer that to other areas? And like looking at people, oh, I wish I could do that, like to people who talk on stages. Like I used to hate that at school, like giving a presentation, but I was in drama and I performed Othello at the Globe. Like I'm on stage, I did so many performances, and that I loved because I wasn't me. And it wasn't until I started like delving into this and understood who I was properly and what I'm really about and who I want to help, that I started to enjoy the process of getting up on stage and talking about these things and doing things like this podcast as me. So we have these masks and these faces that we put out to the world, and that I can't stand this fake it till you make it stuff, when there's an element to building confidence in that. You can fake it to a point, but obviously as long as you're not telling lies, that's what I don't like. So the connotation of don't pretend you're massively wealthy and sell courses telling people you're going to make them a millionaire in 90 days. But you can force yourself out of your comfort zone, and by doing these things, that learned behavior, that pattern, those routines that come in, it's the same as learning to tie your shoes.
It's just repetitive behavior. So when you're working towards the goal of having more self-confidence, do you encourage people to have like an idea of what they're working towards? Like, you create a mind map or an image or a sense of behaviors?
How you want to feel, or behaviors, yeah. So how do you feel in yourself? It's more that, and what would life be like if you had the confidence to do this certain thing? We'll take public speaking as an example because I really enjoy it and I'm good at it. And it's with that you have the visualization, you imagine how it's going to feel when you get up on the stage, the reaction the audience is going to have, because most people want you to succeed. Like they want to see you do well, and it's taking that on and thinking, right, how am I going to feel when these things happen, and who do I want to be? Which parts of myself can I amplify and improve upon, and how is that going to feel? So what does confidence mean? So when you're feeling most confident, Dawn, how does it feel?
It feels really peaceful and clear. Like I'm not doubting. I think I often know what I don't want to feel like. That feels clearer than what I do want to feel like, because that's an unknown sometimes. So I know that I have less self-doubt. I know that I feel I hold myself differently. And I know that I look up and I talk louder, or not even take up loudly, but still own the space that I'm in, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. So
what about for you?
That's well, I just feel amazing. I have a t-shirt that says I'm fucking amazing, and
Brilliant.
one of the things I tell people to do on a daily basis, look at yourself in the mirror, in the eyes, and say I'm fucking amazing, because you start to believe it the more you say it. And it's learned behavior. And I feel empowered when I'm at my most confident. I feel empowered and like forceful, in a good way, and happy. And that's how I want other people to feel. Because it's interesting that you said, I know how I don't want to feel more than how I do want to feel. And by focusing on I don't want to feel like that, that's how you feel.
For sure.
So we all like I don't want to be stressed, and then you end up flustered because you've got things going on. Well, why don't we switch that around and say, I'd like to feel more organized? And then you start to put things into place. I've got whiteboards and screens and
it's like when you say to your kid, don't drop the ice cream, and then the next thing you know, they've dropped the ice cream, right?
That's what you focus on, the negative. So if you focus on the positive, I know it's not always easy to do this. It's sometimes, easier said than done. But it's something that with time and repetition, you start to draw upon. I'm actually just taking it off. But the trick of when you have a negative thought, snapping your hair, that hurt.
Well, don't do that too hard.
Don't do that very hard. Just to remind yourself, and you give yourself a physical shock, to remind you that, hold on a minute, I shouldn't be speaking to myself in this way, and looking for instead, okay, well, how can I turn that around?
So it does two things, I suppose, with the elastic band. First, it brings awareness to the behavior, and secondly, it provides a negative conditioning to that thought, and therefore you then create choice. Is that right?
Choice is wherein confidence lies. You can choose to continue to be negative and feeling all of the feelings that come with not feeling confident, or you can have the choice to be free, and like you said at the beginning, giving yourself permission to have and be and do all of the things that you want to do. Now, I moved to Mallorca in 2011. I quit my job and got on a plane. I didn't even think about it. And it wasn't until a few years later, somebody said to me, that's a really brave thing to do. And then I thought about it. I was actually talking about this with my mum yesterday. She said, it is. And you don't know anyone, you don't speak the language, you know nothing about a place, and you go and do that. But that was a choice. I chose to go and explore and see what was out there, and I'm really glad I did, because I'm so much better in the sun. My life is just better.
Me too, 100%. Yeah.
And having that bit of vitamin D every day. I've been for a walk on the beach this morning. I've got a steps challenge on with my mastermind group. So it's just allowing those creative thoughts to come from being abroad. And if I hadn't had the courage to just get on the plane in the first place, I wouldn't be doing what I am now.
I want to ask you the question about how a lot of people, we'll just put a pin in this, if I say it out loud we won't forget, how a lot of people equate confidence with arrogance, and arrogance is so feared and you know, such a negative connotation towards especially the patriarchy and all that kind of stuff, that people tend to not want to be confident because they don't want to be seen as arrogant. Now that, I think, is a good question. However, what made you think, yes, I'm going to get on that plane? What made you think, do you know what, I'm just going to do it? Was there a drive? Was there something pushing you? Was there, or were you naturally more confident anyway, and that thought was a possibility for you?
I was I left school. Okay, this kind of goes back, so if you'll allow me to share. When I was a child, I was adamant that I was going to Oxford or Cambridge. I am very intelligent, book smart and street smart, because I just that. And I don't say that with arrogance, it is just a fact. So that's a nice little point as well. And then I got to sixth form and I was absolutely done with the educational system. And I was like, fuck this, I'm not going. I had an argument with my psychology teacher because I just, when we were doing the expected grades, I said, I think okay, but I've not revised. So I'll get a B. And she said, oh, we'll put a little C in the corner. I was like, no, fuck off. I'm going to get a B. Because I'd given up. Like, I wasn't into it. So I didn't revise anyway. I got a B and I called her a something. See you next Tuesday. That's one word I've not dropped on a podcast yet.
Yeah, I've not had that either on my podcast. So keep with the spelling for now. That's
yeah,
cool.
I'll spell it. Yeah. And then from there, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because it's like, I'm not going to university because I don't know what I want to do. So I ended up going through, I don't know how many jobs, not enjoying it, being sat at a desk, and I was miserable. So I planned to go away with some friends in 2010, and they all backed out. So I ended up not going. And then the next summer, I was like, I cannot keep thinking I need other people, because if I don't do this now, I'm never going to leave, and I'm never going to go and see what's there. And I knew that I liked the sun, I liked holidays, I liked to party. So where I've been to all the other party places, fuck it, let's go to Magaluf. I was going to come for 3 months and I still live here.
Wow. So you've been there the whole time since then?
I lived in Barbados for 9 months. And I do travel a lot, and I travel back to the UK a lot because we've got our property business there and it's my mastermind and stuff. But yeah, so I moved away from the Magaluf party scene and became a personal trainer instead. We went to the complete other end of the thing. But there wasn't, I think the driving force was I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was relying on people that they didn't care what I did. So that driving force was knowing that I had to do something for myself, because no one was coming to save me.
That is such a powerful thing. And it's something that I've been talking to one of my clients about a lot lately. She in particular is having a really, really, really tough time, to the point where actually the client relationship that we currently have is changing, and she needs extra help. And she said to me, look, I'm scared because nobody's coming to save me. And I went, well, see, that's kind of the point. It's at that point you realize that actually you are in charge of your own life, and that is the driving force here. It's got to be, there's nobody else that is coming.
No,
I mean, you'll get support, right? The moment you show up, the moment you say yes to life, the moment you say yes to me, everything comes into place. It does. I mean, it might take a bit of time, but it does come.
I've definitely noticed that the more that we've done, like when I say we, me and my mum, her name's Paula. I introduce her as mum, and she says also known as Paula. So we work together in property, and we noticed that the more we've done and decided to do, the better our network has become and the better the support has been, because we've shown up for ourselves and we're demonstrating that we're committed and we're in this and together as well. And that then draws in the right people. So you get the right support, but ultimately you're the one leading it. This is why I coach and mentor as well, because they do the work, I'm the guiding hand. But their success is because they do the work.
Yeah.
So you really do have to show up for yourself and really want it. And I think wanting to fully understand yourself and all of the things that are good about you, we've all got shit bits, like, you know, that's fine. Accept them and embrace them. I'm really, really, really good at falling up and down stairs.
That's a reframe, you know. I like it. So would you say then that when somebody comes to you and says, I have no self-confidence, I don't really know what I want to do, I can tentatively say that I want to do this for me, but I really don't know if I can. I really don't feel like I've got any historical experience to fall back on to go, yeah, I did that, and so this is possible. What would you say to somebody in that kind of position?
Well, if I can turn my life around from being a Magaluf party head to a personal trainer and deadlifting 150 kilo, you can do anything.
Mm-hmm. And that is the scope of possibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
it really is allowing yourself to see, okay, well, I might not have the skills in what I want to do currently, but I can learn. We learn all the time. We learn from conversations. We learn by doing. Like you see people, they go on this course and that course, like the course junkies, and that's what makes you successful. It's doing the thing outside of it that makes a difference. Because if you can do all the courses in the world, but if you don't take the action that they teach you,
with the work that I do and how I hold my clients, it's very, very similar, where there's a certain element of rumbling with discomfort. Like whatever growth you want to create for yourself, there is an element of discomfort that comes along with it as you reach your upper limits, as you encounter thoughts that come up for you that aren't in your favor, as you embody different personalities that you never thought that you had and become these new people. All of that is uncomfortable. Not always, but the majority of the time growth is uncomfortable. And I think the quicker you can get to terms with working with your nervous system and allowing that to feel calm and safe, the more you can go, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, it's like, that's a really good point about your nervous system. If you think about the physiological reactions you have when you're scared and when you're excited, they're very similar.
Yes.
So you can use that adrenaline as fuel to go, oh, hold on a minute. And if you're nervous about something, it's because you care, which is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Because you want to do well. So that's what I think. Nervousness is great. Like every time before I do a talk, I still get nervous, but it's because I care and I want to deliver.
Yeah.
But
you rumble with it and do it anyway.
Yeah. I like often, and I don't know how many talks or videos and everything that I've done. And every time I'm like, oh, because I can. And that's okay. Like yesterday. So I did a Facebook Live yesterday. I don't do them very often anymore. And I used to do them every day. But I do lots of video. And one of my clients said, something that would be really good for you to do is just like download, like tell people about your day. I was like, okay, well, I can give that a go. Like you'll give, like I always want feedback. That's something else that comes with confidence. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, no. I totally know where you're going with that. Yeah.
But 3 times I was like, oh, fuck this, turn the camera off and deleted it. Because I was just chatting shit. So I said to the guy in the group, and I said, well, I tried Jason, but well, that's his name. He won't mind. And I was like, I was just fucking abysmal. So I was like, oh, I'll come back to it later. And then I went back after about an hour, and I just talked, and it was great. And I think things like that, and understanding that it's okay to fail, air quotes, because it shows that you're willing to do the work, to put the effort in, to see if it's going to work. And if I did it and it didn't, then I won't do it again. Or I'll do it again, and if it doesn't work, I'll try again, or try again in a new way.
Mm-hmm. And having a support network around you is so important for that too, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I started the club, so that people have that.
The Confidence Club.
The Confidence Club, yeah, it's the Confident Entrepreneurs Club. So that, because people, like, entrepreneurship and building businesses on your own can feel very, very lonely. And having been lonely and seen it, and the impact that it has, like physically, mentally, when I started to look into this properly, and this was 5 years ago, there were 9 million people in the UK that spoke up, that said they were lonely. And in the UK, there's a population of, at that point, I think it was 64 million, 63 or 64 million, don't quote me on that bit. Now, 5 years later, that's at 27 million,
mm-hmm.
which is nearly half the population. And that is, well, a lot of that's come from what the government did to us, mm-hmm. and making people stay away from each other.
Yeah.
But that also comes from a lack of self-esteem, a lack of confidence, and not having the right support network, or knowing where to find the right people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important thing that we should be doing, is helping people to connect with themselves first, so yes. They can connect with others.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. I am totally there with you on that. Yeah.
Because how can you fully connect with somebody else if you haven't connected with yourself first?
Or even started to connect with yourself, right? Yeah. It can be a lifelong journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when we think about this piece around, and this is interesting, because I think this is actually a really big disconnect, is when you think to yourself, I can't be something because of perceived judgment or experience. So like, I can't be confident because I'm going to be perceived as arrogant. Do you see what I did there? Brought it all the way back around.
Right, nice.
But it's true, right? There is an outside expectation of what we should be. And so we limit ourselves to what we think we should be in order not to draw attention to ourselves, or be seen in a certain way, or, not have anyone say anything bad to us, because a lot of us have had bullying in our lifetime as well.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody like that?
The thing is, people judge you no matter what you do. You do it, I do it. We look at people, we judge them. That's what human beings do. So why not be confident and successful? Because they're going to judge you whether you're unconfident and unsuccessful. Surely your life will be better if you have the confidence. So what? It doesn't matter what other people think. I used to worry about what people thought of me. So I dyed my hair and thought, fuck you.
Well, see, that's what we started off talking about off air, wasn't it? About how you've got bright red hair and I've got bright pink hair, dark pink hair. And I said, that's a confidence thing, isn't it? Because up until it's about a year now that I've had pink hair. Up until then, I've always wanted to try it, but I didn't. And then the more confident and comfortable I felt in myself, the more I wanted to express that externally, through my clothes and through my hair. And I got quite a lot of backlash about changing my hair color, as well as lots and lots of good feedback. But it was a, what are you doing type thing. Is that something that happened to you too?
No. If actually there have been a couple of trolls comments throughout the time. I mean, I've had my hair every color of the rainbow. I had a rainbow, and it's been blues, purples, pinks, and it's been red for about 5 years now. So I can't ever dye any other color. It's my brand. I like it. But when I did it, it started off slowly. So I used to have a number 2 at the back and like on the sides, and then we did a little blonde streak, and then we put that blue, and then we did it pink, and then we did the underneath, and then I was like, fuck it, like let's do the whole thing. So it was gradual.
Yeah.
This is actually how you can learn confidence, is do things gradually, like a step at a time. And I genuinely do not care if you like my hair or not, because I do.
Yes.
I don't do it for other people. I know I just said it's my brand. but
it's your brand because it makes you happy, right?
Yeah, because I like it. And if you're gonna go through life and think, oh, what about this other person? That other person isn't living your life. So why should their opinion matter to you? Because only you can make you happy. Like you can't rely on all of the external factors. Oh, I'll be happy when, or if this happens. That's great. Yeah, have one foot in the future to strive for better, but be grateful and appreciative of where you are right now too.
Yeah.
So people are going to judge you whether you drive a Bentley or a clapped out Clio, you know? So there's that. So fucking what? But that does also come with time, because I used to think, oh, well, what if they're looking at me in this way or that way, which is like that, like you were saying, that fine line. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and I like to think that I've got it and I'm not arrogant. But arrogance isn't confidence. That's the thing. Arrogance is a way of somebody trying to have power over others, right, and have that mindset of, well, I'm better than you. So that's completely different to being confident and just saying, this is what I'm good at. Because if you are good at something, why should you worry what other people think if you're good at it? It's only when you're lying that actually,
or unsure of yourself,
that you're going to come across as untrustworthy. So you can't be arrogant, or if you're just telling the truth.
I would also add from my own personal experience of working with my confidence that because I have had moments where I've been arrogant and people have said to me, wow, that was really arrogant. And I went, oh, mortified. No, it was like, I had no idea. I thought I was just being confident. So that's an interesting, I can now see why what they meant. It was coming from a place of like projection. If I project what I think I know to be true, and and I leave no room for anybody else to be right, then you will then look at me as an authority, which actually, if I'm honest, that is what I was going for. Now, thankfully, I've evolved a little bit more, and it said, and for me, confidence is the ability to go, this is what I'm good at, these are my gifts, I'm comfortable with this, but I'm also open to making mistakes. I'm also open to feedback. I'm also open to being wrong. And I think arrogance is, I'm never wrong. Yeah. And actually, I am wrong. Sometimes I'm fundamentally wrong. And I love that, because it's an opportunity for me to upgrade my thinking, my behaviors, my knowledge, my relationships, whatever it is, for growth, you know?
Exactly. And getting that feedback is very, very important. So I've recently redone some speaker training, and it's speaking feedback, and you learn from other people's mistakes or perceived failures as well as your own. So if you don't get that feedback, how are you supposed to know where you can improve? Like, I don't see it as a bad thing. Like, if you properly fuck something up, as long as like you haven't hurt anyone intentionally, just learn from it. Because feedback is, as they say on the course, it's the breakfast of champions. You know, boxers look and like they have a coach, don't they? Because they're looking for, how do they improve? And you can't improve unless you're rewatching the matches and the way you move and going over the drills and the skills. So thinking about that in day-to-day life, be open to feedback, and as long as it's done in the right way, you know, it's not that was shit, you're a fucking asshole.
I mean, that's a really interesting point. I think so many of us have had experiences from our childhood from really toxic feedback, which is crucifying, and probably part of the cause why we didn't learn how to be confident is because we have this negative voice that just goes, who do you think you are, and do as you're told, and sit down and be quiet. And that was terrible. And I used to work in human resources. That was my degree, and that's what I did for a long time, as well as training and development. And one of the focus was on your performance review. And your performance review nearly always was about what you're shit at and how can you improve it, rather than what are you really good at? And let's use that as your zone of genius and improve and help everybody else, because you are then living your best life and it's impacting everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some things that you know you don't need to improve upon. It's okay to be shit at some things,
right?
Like otherwise I don't even own an iron.
Exactly. So if somebody is working with you and they just keep coming up against the same blocker that says, I am really feeling scared of coming across as arrogant, or I'm really feeling scared of leaving my comfort zone and coming into to do something else, what would your advice be? What would you be saying to them?
Small steps that add up, and,
Okay.
and that's where the compound effect is really, really vital. I did this to myself one year. It was called Natalie Scared May, and every day in May I did something that scared me and Facebook lived it.
Love that.
So I had external accountability. And then by the end of the month, I felt amazing, because all of the things that I'd done had built up to that feeling of, okay, well, if I can do that yesterday, I can do this today. And if I can do that the day before and the day before, and I can do it again today, and I can do it tomorrow. So it's the small steps. It's you don't have to go and jump out of a plane. I mean, I do highly recommend that. It's a lot of fun.
That would be the end goal for me, though, I think, Natalie.
It is the most exhilarating feeling ever. Absolutely phenomenal. And I know it's not for everyone, but I've done 3, and I wanted to get my license to jump myself, and then the world got shut down, so that hasn't happened yet, but that's still on the cards, because it's one thing jumping out of a plane strapped to somebody, but then doing it yourself, that's a next level kind of like having faith in yourself and your skills.
All right, I'm going to go with craziness, but yes, I agree with you too.
But if you think about that analogy of jumping out of a plane, there are steps you have to learn. Like, you learn the technique before you go and do the thing. You don't just jump out of a plane. You have all of the steps you have to go through before you can do that. So taking that into ordinary life, the same as driving a car, you know, you have to learn all of the parts, and then it's like what you get in a car and you drive without thinking about it now. And so if you can, you know, if somebody can learn to jump out of a plane, you can learn to do absolutely anything just by following the small steps, because they add up.
Do you think that it's essential to growth to have some bigger goal that you're working towards, like a meaning, a purpose, a value? Or do you think that, because I wonder if there's really any reason to grow, if there's not a reason that you're working, like something that really matters to you that you're working towards?
I do think it is better to have a vision and a purpose, because the world is bigger than you. Whilst you are your world, because, and then working on you makes life better for everybody in your life, because then you're a better person. So it's not selfish to do self-care. When you have, like, for example, my retreat's in 11 weeks today, and my next retreat, and me being me, bit of a tart, in a good way, not like that. I want a beach photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So my training is to get my abs back, because I did a photo shoot in the gym a couple of years ago and I loved it. And that was my first photo shoot. So I'm like half naked in the gym. Well, it looked amazing, but I put the work in and put the effort in. So by having that in the diary makes me work harder and makes me go, no, I'm not eating that. I'm sticking to plan. Not that that's bad, but this is better.
Yeah.
So again, it's that choice, because there is something in the diary. My overarching goal for that is to be in the best shape of my life, because it makes me feel good and I like to challenge myself. So then I've got multiple things over the course of this year. So I've got my retreats, and then I've got my dad's birthday. I'm taking him to Champagne, to go around the champagne houses. And then my birthday, we're going to Vegas. And so having these points of time helps you to put in the work and be focused and disciplined. And that's going to be the thing that makes things better. So my podcast, Confidence Mastery, it's three this month.
3 years old. Yeah.
3 years old. 150 episodes. And I do that. I don't do that for me. I do that for other people. So having that purpose behind it makes me do it.
Yeah.
And that is the level of confidence, because of the feedback I get, and that people message me and they listen and they enjoy it. And you'll know this yourself, as
sure.
you have,
yeah,
as this is a podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand this in the very beginning of doing it. It was because it's, sometimes it can feel like it's the Natalie show, but it's not. The everything I do and the content I put out and everything I create is to help other people, because I wish I'd had that help before.
That's exactly how I feel as well. So would you say that that's your overarching mission purpose? Is that what the overarching aim for all of your stuff that sits underneath it?
To help other people.
Yeah.
Because life can be shit, and when you're lonely, and it comes back to that a lot. When my nan passed away, I was in the hospital with my mum and my aunt and uncles, and she wasn't alone. And I thought to myself, and that's why mum and I worked together, because we were both shit, lonely, miserable. And I thought, I don't want to get to the end of my life and be alone. And that's why community is so important to me, and having the right networks, because I know what it feels like to feel like you've got no one.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody should feel that. And that's why I do what I do.
If somebody, I'm thinking of one particular person that I'm working with at the moment. She feels very isolated and very lonely a lot of the time, and is stuck in that mindset. What would you suggest to her? What would you say to her?
I find with that, it's finding things that you enjoy, and starting to do them. I did a series on loneliness that I can dig out for you.
Oh yeah, let's put that in the show notes, definitely.
Because it affects your health physically as well.
Yeah.
So it's giving yourself, it goes back to giving yourself permission to connect with yourself and with others, and doing things like finding things that you enjoy that could help you to interact with other people. So part of the reason I go to the gyms that I go to are because I like the people there. It's got nothing to do, well, I go to the gyms that I go to because they've got proper weights, firstly. But like that community, that's something I enjoy. It's good for me. and I get to meet other people, like-minded people, because you're all there for the same purpose or a similar purpose. So she could find something, and I hate the word hobby, because it's more of like a part of your lifestyle, part of your life, something you really enjoy. Because a hobby feels to me, it's like, oh, it's a part-time thing, but actually, because someone said to me once, I'm fucking digressing a lot here, that the gym is just a hobby. I'm like, well, hold on a minute, it's not just a hobby, it is a way of life.
Yeah.
So
it's a fundamental, one of the legs of your life that is holding everything else together, that's really, really important to you, right?
Yeah. So it's trying to pass it off as just a hobby, I was like, whoa, hold on. No. I'm quite passionate about that. So she could find something, whether it is something like physical as well, like dancing. It could be going to a fitness class, learning to salsa, tap dance, something that is out of her comfort zone, but enables her to go and like stuff like that. The community that comes from things like moving your body, and there are walking groups. There's all sorts of things that aren't insular and isolated, like you're working on a craft by yourself.
So it comes back to, ultimately comes back to knowing that you want to create change, and then rumbling with the discomfort of feeling worried or anxious or nervous, or all of those feelings that come up, because the gain that you get at the end or along the way is worth rumbling with that discomfort, right?
Yeah. So I always say to people that don't want to exercise, I say, think of how you'll feel after.
Yeah.
Because you never regret a workout you did, only the ones you didn't do.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of accomplishment, of having achieved something, of having done something and seeing it as an achievement and rewarding yourself. Like it doesn't have to be like, okay, every time I go to the gym, I buy a new pair of Jimmy shoes. Like I would have far too many shoes then, and I already have a lot. But it's like giving yourself a pat on the back and acknowledging that you've done something good for yourself starts to change the way that you think and the way your mind thinks, and then you start to look forward to those things, and because of the sense of accomplishment at the end.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really good place to pause for today. We've covered a lot of ground, and I think self-confidence is one of the most important things that we can start to really make effort and inroads with, to create the lives that feel fulfilling and joyful and satisfying, right?
Yeah, and life's too short to be miserable, so do the things you enjoy and do it with confidence.
There's your soundbite. Natalie, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you being here. There is so much. We didn't even talk about how you got here, or your property business, or any of the other stuff. So please, will you come back on and share more of your wisdom and experience with us another time?
Thank you. Yes, let's do a part 2.
Great. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much for having me. I very much enjoyed this, and I hope that everybody listening has too. So go and take the world by storm.